Imagine walking into a doctor's clinic in the Middle Ages because your head hurts. The doctor looks you over, grabs a big drill, and calmly says he needs to bore a hole straight through your skull. Oh, and first, he'll need to taste your pee to be sure. Welcome to the world of medieval medicine, where the cure could easily be worse than whatever made you sick. For nearly 1,000 years, the medical practices across Europe were so bizarre and brutal, they'd make the scariest modern horror films seem tame. Your history classes might skip over this, but it's true. Medieval doctors honestly thought they were helping when they drained patients' blood until they passed out, fed them powdered mummies, or operated with rusty tools while the patient was wide awake. Today, we're stepping into the creepy, fascinating world of what passed for healthcare back then, the most shocking, strange, and downright horrifying treatments medieval Europe had to offer. The four humours, your body's weird fluids. Everything these doctors did was built on one huge mistaken idea, the four humours theory. This ancient Greek concept, passed down through Roman and Arab scholars, became the bedrock of European medicine for over 1,000 years. The idea was simple. Your body held four key fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. If they were perfectly balanced, you were healthy. If they got out of whack, that meant sickness, madness, or even death. But it got weirder. Doctors believed your very personality came from which fluid dominated you. Too much blood? You were sanguine, cheerful but impulsive. Extra phlegm? You were phlegmatic, calm but lazy. Lots of yellow bile? Choleric, driven but quick to anger. Black bile in charge? Melancholic, creative but deeply sad. A doctor might examine you and declare, you have too much hot, wet blood. That's why you have a fever and you're so lovesick. The solution was almost always violent. Rebalance those humours by bleeding you, making you vomit, or giving you strong laxatives. This theory was so sacred in medical schools that doubting it was like committing a crime. Doctors spent years memorising charts showing how food, the weather, even the stars could mess with your humours. A cold, damp day might throw your phlegm off, while eating too much beef could dangerously boost your blood levels. It wasn't just medicine. It was their whole way of explaining the world, from falling in love to why plagues spread. Sadly for patients, every single treatment was based on this completely wrong idea about how bodies work. Bloodletting, the cure-all that could kill you. If medieval medicine had one go-to fix for everything, it was bloodletting. Got a headache? Bloodletting. Broke your leg? Bloodletting. Feeling sad? Yep, more bloodletting. Doctors got very creative about draining blood. The usual way was making deep cuts in veins with special knives called phlemes, catching the blood in special bowls. They'd carefully figure out how much to take based on your age, weight, and even the moon's phase, because they thought the moon affected your humours. Cutting wasn't the only method. Cupping was big too. Doctors would heat glass cups, put them on your skin to create suction, drawing blood up before slicing you. The round scars left behind were seen as proof you'd gotten proper treatment. Then there were the leeches. These little bloodsuckers were the medieval doctors' best friends. Doctors raised them in special ponds and stuck them onto patients' skin, letting them suck blood until they were fat and full. The idea was that leeches could target problem spots better than a knife. Some doctors kept hundreds of leeches, treating them like precious tools. The shocking part? Everyone got bled, no matter how sick they already were. Pregnant women, little kids, the elderly, even people already weak from losing blood from an injury, they all faced the bowl. Records show patients bled until they fainted, which doctors took as a good sign the treatment was working. When England's King Charles II had a stroke, his doctors bled over a pint from him, stuck on leeches, and made him vomit and have diarrhea, all while he was dying. Unsurprisingly, this rebalancing probably helped kill him faster. Drilling holes in heads, the headache fix. Nothing screams medieval medicine horror quite like trepanation. This was the practice of drilling, scraping, or cutting holes straight into a patient's skull, while they were fully awake and feeling it all. And yes, this was considered serious, legitimate medicine. Surgeons did this for headaches, seizures, madness, and head injuries. Their logic? Evil spirits, bad humours, or rotten blood were trapped inside the skull, causing pressure and pain. The solution? Bore a hole to let the bad stuff out. The process was horrifyingly simple. Surgeons used special tools called trepans, basically circular saws with sharp teeth. They'd mark a spot on your head, then slowly twist and push the trepan through your skin, muscle, and bone until they reached your brain. It could take hours, and you were awake the whole time because there was no real painkiller. Weirdly, some skulls found by archaeologists show signs of healing around the holes, meaning some people survived. But surviving often meant living with exposed brain covered only by thin skin, leaving you wide open to deadly infections, more seizures, or worse mental problems. Medieval medical books gave step-by-step instructions for trepanation, with pictures showing exactly where to drill for different problems. Headache? Drill near the temples. Feeling melancholic? Hole on top of the skull. Some poor souls got multiple holes in one go. Here's something history class misses. Trepanation wasn't just for the desperate. Rich nobles sometimes asked for it preventatively, thinking it would stop future madness or keep demons away. Surgeons got so confident they did it on kids, old people, and even pregnant women. The most disturbing thing? Medieval medical texts talk about trepanation like it was no big deal, as routine as pulling a tooth. They casually recommended it for problems we now know need totally different treatments, or sometimes no treatment at all. The pee tasting test. Medieval doctors were utterly convinced they could diagnose any illness just by looking at your urine, and that examination included tasting it. This practice, called uroscopy, was seen as the height of medical skill, done with total seriousness by the most respected doctors. It was a whole ritual. They used special glass flasks, matulas, to collect your pee, then held it up to the light to check its colour, cloudiness, and thickness. They had charts with 20 different pee colours, each supposedly meaning a different disease or humour problem. Clear urine meant too much phlegm, dark red meant too much blood. But just looking wasn't enough. Doctors would sniff the urine. Was it sweet, rotten, smelled weird? Then came the really shocking part. They'd take a taste. They believed sweet pee meant diabetes, bitter pee meant liver trouble, and salty pee pointed to kidney disease. This wasn't seen as gross or unsanitary. It was top-notch medical science. Doctors trained for years to learn dozens of different pee flavours and what they supposedly meant. Textbooks had detailed taste descriptions, and doctors showed off by diagnosing based only on pee. Some claims they could tell if you were pregnant, mentally ill, or even about to die, just from your urine. They studied the gunk at the bottom, the foam on top, and how the pee reacted when heated or mixed with wine. Medical schools had whole courses just on pee tasting, treating it as seriously as we treat blood tests today. It got so fancy that wealthy patients would ship their pee across Europe to famous doctors for analysis. Some doctors built their whole reputations and charged huge fees on their supposed pee-tasting skills. Records show them diagnosing and prescribing treatments based only on tasting pee, often without ever seeing the patient. They truly believed this disgusting habit gave them real medical insight, when really it was useless and dangerous when they gave treatments based on imaginary pee clues. Holy relics, medicine from heaven. When medieval medicine inevitably failed, which was often, doctors and patients turned to God for help. But this wasn't just quiet prayer, it was a whole system of supernatural healing using saint bones, holy water, and miracle shrines, working right alongside regular medicine. Doctors genuinely thought certain saints specialized in curing specific illnesses. Saint Apollonia fixed toothaches, Saint Lucy handled eye problems, Saint Vitus dealt with seizures and madness. Doctors would actually write prescriptions for pilgrimages to certain saints' shrines, like medical travel plans. The most prized tools were holy relics, bits of saints' bones, scraps of their clothes, or things they'd touched. Rich people paid fortunes to get near powerful relics. Believing that just touching them could cure anything, some nobles kept private collections, like supernatural medicine cabinets. Hospitals and monasteries competed fiercely to get the best relics, using their healing powers to attract wealthy patients. The Abbey of Saint-Denis near Paris claimed to have Jesus' crown of thorns, which they rented out to cure headaches and madness. English monasteries even went to court fighting over who had the real bones of St. Thomas Becket, each saying their bones healed better. The healing rituals were elaborate. Patients might fast for days, confess their sins, then approach the relic chanting special prayers. Some relics were pressed right onto the sore spot. Others were dipped in water for the patient to drink. Some shrines made patients sleep overnight beside the relic, hoping for a healing dream. Records from big pilgrimage sites list thousands of supposed miracles. Monks kept detailed logs, blind people seeing again, paralyzed people walking, plague victims instantly cured by touching sacred bones. The real shocker: University-trained doctors actively worked with these religious healers. They'd send patients to specific shrines when their own treatments flopped. Medical textbooks even had chapters listing which saints to pray to for different diseases, treating divine help as a real branch of healthcare, not just superstition. The grossest medicine cabinet ever. Medieval pharmacies sold ingredients so bizarre and revolting, they'd send a modern patient running for the hills. And these weren't just folk cures. They were official prescriptions written by university-trained doctors and sold by licensed druggists across Europe. Ground-up Egyptian mummies were top-shelf medicine. Doctors thought mummies, preserved for ages, held concentrated life force that could cure almost anything. Druggists imported real mummy parts, ground them into powder, called mumia, and sold it as a premium fix for headaches, broken bones, you name it. Rich folks paid gold to eat ancient corpses. Unicorn horn was another luxury cure. Even though unicorns aren't real, druggists sold narwhal tusks, rhino horns, or carved ivory as the real deal, claiming it could stop any poison and cure most diseases. Kings and nobles kept powdered unicorn horn in fancy boxes, taking it like a health supplement. Believe it or not, human poop had its place in the pharmacy. Fresh waste was used for skin problems, while aged poop was thought stronger for internal troubles. Some doctors actually told dysentery patients to eat dried human poop mixed with wine, basically giving them the very thing that probably caused the sickness in the first place. Doctors also prescribed live animals as medicine. People with breathing trouble were told to inhale the breath of baby goats or sheep. Rabies victims were instructed to eat the liver of the dog that bit them. Epileptics were given live bats to eat, and people with kidney stones got powdered hedgehog. The absolute strangest cures used body parts from executed criminals. Fresh blood from someone just beheaded was medicine for epilepsy. Powdered skull supposedly fixed headaches. Druggists had deals with executioners to grab body bits right after an execution, thinking they were most powerful then. Some remedies made no sense at all. Doctors told women with hysteria to wear beaver testicles around their necks. Powdered pearls mixed with gold dust was a heart remedy. People with stomach aches were told to swallow live spiders wrapped in butter. These weren't weird experiments. They were standard treatments found in official medical textbooks and prescribed by the most educated doctors of the time. Looking back at these horrifying medieval practices, it's easy to feel superior about our modern hospitals. But here's the unsettling truth. These doctors weren't evil or stupid. They were smart, educated people doing their absolute best with the knowledge they had. They studied for years at universities, memorized complex theories, and truly believed they were helping. They followed careful steps, kept records, and built on centuries of tradition. The problem wasn't their hearts, it was that their basic understanding of the human body was totally wrong. What's really shocking is how recently some of this stuff hung around. Bloodletting was common well into the 1800s. Trepanation was done in parts of Europe into the early 1900s. Doctors were still tasting pee in some places until modern lab tests came along. So next time you visit a modern doctor, take a second to appreciate the progress. No one will drill into your skull for a headache, taste your pee, or give you powdered mummy for an upset stomach. If this journey into history's strangest medical practices left you as fascinated and horrified as it did me, well, you know what to do.